Well, hello. So today we're going to speak about human dignity. What is it? So we live in an interesting time. We live in an interesting time where we have to make the choice for human dignity. Where we have to make the individual choice for human dignity and ask ourselves some questions. How do we navigate in this world? So one of the most powerful tools that I was given by the Kabbalah Center. I'm not a Kabbalah teacher. I just, throw out some ideas that I hear back. One of the most powerful tools that I've heard was from Batman. And I'm not a Gothamite. I believe it's Gothamite. So, human dignity. The question becomes, so let's name some specific situations that happen. And human dignity. You're out at dinner and your uncle decides to say something racist in front of a diverse group of individuals. The questions are, will you be heard? Do you love unconditionally? That doesn't need to be said. So, will you be heard? Maybe, maybe not. You know, depending on the relationship that you have with your uncle and depending on the relationship that you have with everybody else, will you be heard? Do you love unconditionally? Ultimately, the first person I think you need to think about is your uncle, and do you love your uncle unconditionally? And because if you're going to say something, you're about to put your uncle on the spot. So do you love your uncle unconditionally, and do you feel you need to put your uncle on the spot? And does it need to be said? Some may argue that it, of course, needs to be said. If someone says something racist in front of a group of individuals, of course it needs to be said. It needs to be addressed at that particular point in time, and we need to move forward beyond it. But how do we do it by fitting into all these three categories so that way we can have a profitable trifecta of positivity? Because without one of these, you will be creating negativity, and negativity spreads. So let's address do love unconditionally. So that has to be with the words that you say. So your uncle says something racist, and I would say that could be construed as racist. I know that that's not the whole makeup of you as a person, but that could be construed as racist. And I personally don't like racist conversations around me. So I would appreciate if you didn't continue with that line of topic, because I love you. Now that may not be the perfect way, I think when you're on the spot and you're heated and you're in the moment, or maybe just saying, because I love you, I would appreciate that you didn't continue this racist rambling. And you say it while laughing and joking, because I love you and because I care about you. And I think that because it's a comedy, you will be heard. You throw in some comedy. Doesn't need to be said. There we go. And do you love unconditionally? You throw it in the because I love you. I don't want you to be seen as a racist. And so I don't know what's going on here, but let's backtrack and go forward with it. Now let's take the same situation and let's say your uncle says something racist to you in private, and your uncle has had a couple drinks. So, will you be heard? If your uncle's inebriated, probably not. Do you love unconditionally? Definitely, definitely. I think that if you've had a few, you probably love your uncle even more. Does it need to be said? It probably does. But again, are you inebriated? So are they inebriated? You know what? How did this become about you and your uncle getting drunk? I've never once had a drink with any of. I think I've had like a beer with like my uncles. Uh, it's turning into a weird video. But we're going to continue with human dignity. So human dignity. And in that particular situation, the question becomes, I think you should wait. I think you should wait till your uncle is sober and then have the conversation with him. Like, hey, listen, because I love you. You know, some of the stuff that you said. And I don't know if you're saying this stuff in public, and even if you're thinking it, but you need to really go back and address at the core root as to why it is that you're thinking these things. So that's the way I personally would address it. Let's move forward to let's give another example. You have a kid in a classroom, and the kid decides to, wow, I'm giving myself some tough ones. Punch another kid. Yeah, let's go for it. All right. So, uh, will you be heard? And let's say you are a parent. You're not a teacher. You're the parent. All right. Well, so, and the kid's saying some really nasty. Then the physical aspect first. Let's deal with the physical aspect, and then let's deal with the verbal aspect. So the kid's saying some really nasty, nasty things about the other kid, and okay, and then he punches him. Okay, so hospital. I'm gonna throw that in there, but it's an example, right? Come on, it's an example. So does it need to be said? There's no one else in the room. Um, Probably, yeah. I'm gonna go with yes. Does something need to be said? Yes. Do you love unconditionally? These are complete strangers. Not complete strangers, but do you love unconditionally? So I think that you need to reach into the deeper, deeper levels of our complete and absolute unity and find that, because we do love each other unconditionally. It's just about finding that root core. And will you be heard? You will be heard because you're an adult and you're in that situation and something intense just happened and they want that particular situation to break it up. So they don't want it to happen. They don't want to feel that way. So of course you'll be heard. So ultimately it's do you love unconditionally? I think reaching to that seed level of do you love unconditionally. So, and does it need to be said? Of course, I think that of course it needs to be said. In that particular situation, my personal advice would be to, if you're alone and there's not a single adult, is to utilize the tools depending on the age of the children to be like, can you help me separate these children? And then have, this group of children separate that child. But then it becomes, see, that's, then what if the kid's throwing punches? you know? That's why I think it's really proper to have definitely more than one. And children are weird. We can agree with that one. But definitely children can be taught to behave. I've met some wonderful children to behave much better than I do. Some very, very wise children. They're very powerful, amazing souls. So the human dignity, and it starts with the child. It starts with the child. It starts with teaching children or the sense of human dignity. What do you think about this long rambling about human dignity? And I mean, am I right? Am I wrong in answering this situation? Feel free to give a like or even a dislike. But if you're going to give a dislike, let me know why, so that I can grow and become a better human being. Thank you, and I wish you a wonderful, wonderful year.